Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, bringing you our first GE Top 25 of this 2020 college football season. If you've been with us for a while, you know for about the past 12 weeks, every Monday we have broken down and discussed the AP Top 25 poll. We've discussed whether we agree or disagree with what the Associated Press puts out every Sunday afternoon. Well now, because tomorrow the first set of college football playoff rankings is set to be released, we have taken it upon ourselves to release our own set of rankings because we usually disagree with the AP and we usually disagree with the playoff committee. So we're going to get it right. So from now until the end of the year, every Monday, we will be releasing our own GE Top 25, and we've got our first set for you now as we head into Week 13. We're nearing the end of this season, and things are really starting to heat up. So we've got a lot to break down here, guys, our own set of Top 25. I want to share a little bit with you the criteria that went in to these Top 25 rankings. Obviously, the first thing you have to know is we looked at the entire body of work here. We didn't just look at these teams and how they played last week, or for some teams, the last time they played due to bye weeks or COVID postponements. We looked at the entire body of work. And we did take into account how many games have been played for some teams. You take Oregon, for example. They've played only 3 games. Most Pac-12 teams have maybe only played 3 games versus a team like Cincinnati that has played 8, or even a Northwestern that has played 5. So we took a lot of that stuff into account. We didn't necessarily punish teams because they had games postponed or canceled due to COVID, but we did take the entire body of work and the number of games they played this season into account. Head-to-head results, if they're available, definitely took those into account. And you'll see some of those examples here as we continue to work down the list. Head-to-head results are huge, and that's something that the playoff committee has taken into account as well. Location, that's a big one. Did they win at home? Did they lose on the road? Did they win on the road? Where was the setting for these games? Obviously, road wins, especially against ranked teams, are much more impressive. So we took that into account. And on occasion, it depending on the situation, margin of victory plays a major role as well. I know maybe it's not supposed to, but you look at a team, if they beat a FCS program by 50, that doesn't hold as much weight compared to if they beat a top 25 team by 50. So a lot of those things come into account here in these rankings, and that's how we compiled our first set going into Week 13. So let's go ahead and take a look up at the top, guys. And, we said that these rankings were going to be very, very different from the playoff committee's rankings. And I do believe that will be the case. But I do believe that the first probably about 8 teams, really, I think they're set in stone. I don't think there should be many disagreements there, any changes there. Alabama at number 1, undisputed. They're going to be number 1, and that's who we have there. Notre Dame at number 2. They didn't play last week, but they are also undefeated, have that win over Clemson. Ohio State, they just came off that win over Indiana, 42-35 in Columbus. While it wasn't necessarily pretty, the Buckeyes did lead 35-7 at one point and were able to hold on for that thrilling victory over a top 10 team. So the Buckeyes in at number 3. Clemson, they did not play last week. Only 1 loss, a nail-biter to Notre Dame in South Bend without Trevor Lawrence and without a good number of defensive starters. Nothing to take away from Notre Dame, but we take that into account as well. COVID, obviously, something that played a major role in these rankings. So Clemson in at number 4. Texas A&M in at number 5. They haven't played in their last 2 games. Both have been postponed or canceled, however you want to view it, due to COVID. We're not going to punish the Aggies for that. Texas A&M, it's not their fault that the games were postponed and canceled due to COVID-19. That's going to happen a lot this season. It already has happened a lot this year. When A&M has been out there on the field, they have been very impressive. Have a big win over Florida. Their only loss this season to Alabama, and I'd say it's a pretty dang good loss. If they win out, they have a legitimate chance to make the college football playoff as a 1-loss SEC team, despite not playing in their conference championship game. So A&M in at 5. I almost put Cincinnati above Florida. I almost put the Bearcats in at number 6 and dropped the Gators to 7 because I was disgusted. I was disappointed with how poorly Florida played against Vanderbilt on Saturday. And I know for you Florida fans out there, you say, what do you mean we won by 21? Who are you kidding, guys? You were leading by 7 at halftime. You were leading by just 14 going into the fourth quarter, and I guarantee you, if that had been any other team other than Vanderbilt, Florida would have lost. Vanderbilt just did not have that talent, that speed, that experience to hang in there and win that game. But they were in it. They were in it. And if it's another team that's just a little bit better than Vanderbilt, I think they win. I genuinely do. I was not impressed with Florida's performance. I was not impressed with their defense, something that will be their downfall by season's end unless they can hurry up and fix it. Because we know that Florida has to win the SEC championship over Alabama to get into the college football playoff. And if you're allowing over 400 yards of offense to Vanderbilt, imagine how many yards you're going to allow to Alabama in the SEC title game. Florida needs some work, but their offense counteracts that defense. They can score on just about anybody in the country. I give the Gators a slight edge over Cincinnati, but it was not by much. Cincinnati in at 7. Obviously taking down Central Florida on the road. That's a very impressive victory. Very impressive victory. The Bearcats undefeated, may remain undefeated. Their toughest test remaining is Tulsa in the season finale, and then maybe Tulsa again in the American Athletic Conference Championship game. But the Bearcats are amazing. They're amazing. Not many teams can go into the bounce house and come out with a win. Not many teams can go into the bounce house, find themselves down 14-3, and battle back and win the game. So I give a lot of credit to Luke Fickell and his squad for doing what they did and doing what they've done against some of the top offenses within their conference. Memphis, Houston, SMU, guys like that. So Cincinnati, certainly playoff contenders, and if you don't agree, then I hate to say it, you're wrong, because the Bearcats are legitimate, and they could beat a good number of these teams in the top 25 right now. BYU's the same way. They're in at 8th. I'm curious to see where the committee ranks them on Tuesday night. BYU's strength of schedule is pretty horrendous. Outside of that impressive victory over Boise State, which I guarantee you the committee will try to downplay due to the quarterback issues Boise State had in that game, BYU's strength of schedule is not there. They've dominated their opponents the way they should, but their strength of schedule, their quality of wins are nothing even compared to Cincinnati. So I'm curious to see where the Cougars fall. But to me, I still believe, even though the strength of schedule is not quite there, the Cougars could beat just about every team, or a good number of the teams they are ranked above right now. This team's good. They're sound offensively. They're stingy defensively. And Kalani Sitake's got a dang good football team that, depending on how things shape up, could very well make a run in a New Year's Six bowl game. I don't think they're playoff contenders, but make a run in a New Year's Six bowl game and win that game. So that's your top 8. And I don't think that there should be much, like I said, discussion there. I don't think that you should see many changes within that top 8. You might see 1 or 2, maybe BYU above Cincinnati or Cincinnati above Florida, who knows. But those to me are your top 8 teams in the country. And I don't think that can be disputed. And it shouldn't be disputed on Tuesday. Things start getting interesting outside of that. Let's start at number 9, Northwestern. The Wildcats in at 9th for us. They're 5-0, fresh off that 17-7 victory over what was then number 10 Wisconsin. Wisconsin ranked 10th in the AP poll. And that's a very impressive win, guys. And I know what you're thinking. You might be saying, Northwestern at 9? They were 19th when they beat Wisconsin, so you jumped them up 10 spots. Sounds a little high to me. It's not. It's not. Think about it. Think about what Northwestern has accomplished this year. They beat a solid Maryland team that's improving, beat Maryland by 40. Beat Maryland by 40 in their season opener. They went into Kinnick Stadium, which is a very difficult place to play, and defeated Iowa by 1, and then just got a double-digit victory over Wisconsin in a game where the Wildcats forced 5 turnovers and were living in that Badgers backfield. Graham Mertz never looked settled in the pocket. He was constantly under pressure, and the Badgers had no answer for this Northwestern defense. The rest of Northwestern's schedule is extremely favorable. Not that we're looking ahead here. The rest of their schedule is extremely favorable, though, and I really believe that their defense could hold their own and maybe beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. Because Justin Fields threw 3 interceptions against Indiana's defense this past Saturday. And I really genuinely believe that Northwestern's defense could be just a little bit better than Indiana's. If Northwestern is undefeated in the Big Ten championship game, they are absolutely college football playoff contenders. I have them as that now. If you're 9th in the country, you're in the running for a top 4 spot. Pat Fitzgerald has done a phenomenal job with his Wildcats program. They have an offense and a quarterback now in Peyton Ramsey to complement a very solid defense. And for a team that was 3-9 just 1 year ago, it's one of the best turnarounds in all of college football. So Northwestern is a top 10 team in my eyes. That win over Wisconsin solidified that. A game that, to me, probably wasn't even as close as the score indicated. Oregon in at number 10, rounding out our top 10. The Ducks, they're 3-0. They're kind of proving to be a second-half team, like we mentioned in our recap just yesterday. You have the comeback victory over Washington State a couple weeks ago, where they scored a touchdown at the end of the first half and then dominated the second half. Then Oregon scores that 58-yard pick six against UCLA to close out the first half and get the momentum and the lead, and then they dominate the second half. Oregon, yeah, they've been a little unimpressive. The UCLA game was closer than maybe it should have been, but they are the Pac-12's best team. They are the favorite to win the Pac-12, and under a normal year, they'd be playoff contenders. I just don't know, with the limited amount of games that Oregon will play, I don't know if the committee and even myself could throw them into the top four, even if they finished undefeated and won the Pac-12. But the Ducks, right now, in at number 10, rounding out our top 10, and that will do it for that column there. So leave your comments below, guys, for these entire rankings, but the top 10, obviously the biggest ones, and obviously I think those are your contenders right now. I think everybody outside of that has kind of eliminated themselves from the playoff discussion, but we want to hear from you. Hear whether you agree or disagree with our rankings. It's the first time this year you can actually do that. So make sure to leave that down in the comments below. Second column, Indiana, number 11. We didn't drop them that far because they didn't deserve to drop that far. They were 9th when they played Ohio State. We have them at 11th right now. I have never seen a team get down by 28 points in Columbus and battle all the way back and have a chance to tie it and send it to overtime on the final possession. Usually when teams get down to Ohio State, you're down, oh well, we tried, let's just get out of here with our dignity and leave. But Tom Allen's squad didn't do that. So this Indiana team, to me, is for real. 35-7, you lost 42-35. Michael Penix put up 491 passing yards against this Ohio State defense. Something, again, that still needs improvement, very much like Florida's defense needs improvement. Indiana's the real deal. To me, they're a New Year's Six Bowl contender. No doubt in my mind. They did not deserve to drop out very far outside the top 10. I've got them right on the outside looking in. And by season's end, I think this will be a top 10 team. They will finish as a top 10 team. Certainly do not deserve to be punished for an unbelievable effort over in Columbus. Miami in at number 12. Some may say, why are the Hurricanes 12? Why aren't they a top 10 team? They deserve to be. I don't think they do deserve to be. I look at Miami right now, guys. I get they've had a bunch of COVID issues. They've had a bunch of players out. But really, since that Clemson loss, where they got murdered, 42-17, they've left a lot to be desired. You know, I look at their last 3 games. You beat a one-win Virginia team at home by 5, only 5. You beat an NC State team on the road only by 3. Had to come back down 10 in the fourth quarter for that one. And then you beat a Virginia Tech team that was beat up. And I know Miami was beat up too. But you beat a Virginia Tech team that was beat up and obviously has been a very disappointing team this year. Only beat them by 1. Your last 3 games you have won by a combined 9 points. You're lucky to be a one-loss team right now. Miami is. So I've got them at 12. I don't view them. I do not view them as a top 10 team right now. Yeah, we're on the outside looking in. They're a good squad. They're a good squad, but not top 10 caliber. Miami in at 12. Iowa State up at number 13. Some may think that's too high. I don't. They are the front runners in the Big 12 right now. They are atop the Big 12 standings. And again, if you take away that Louisiana loss, I know you can't, but imagine if you do, this is an Iowa State team that's probably a top 7 team in the country right now. And playoff contenders at that as well. Iowa State just came off a 45-0 defeat of Kansas State. Blew out the Wildcats. 10 of the last 12 had been decided by 1 possession. Iowa State said, forget history, forget trends. We're going to light a fire under our team. We're going to send Kansas State home with no dignity whatsoever. And that's exactly what they did. They outgained the Wildcats by 390 yards. So, I mean, the score indicated that. The deeper stats indicate that as well. Iowa State has a game at Texas on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. That's going to be huge in determining who can get into the Big 12 championship game. But Matt Campbell's squad's the real deal. They just completed their best game of the season against a solid Kansas State team. One that was beat up, but still one that was solid, and at one point this season was the 16th ranked team in the country. So Iowa State deserves a huge jump. They are above Oklahoma. because of that head-to-head result that we had many weeks ago. Oklahoma, though, jumping all the way up to 14th because they just took down Oklahoma State 41-13. You beat a rival like that, a rival that was ranked 4 spots ahead of you by that much. What was that, 28 points? That's unreal. And Oklahoma's high, probably the hottest team in the country. They've won 5 straight since they started 1-2. Their last loss was Iowa State. I love this Oklahoma team right now, one that has a very, very good chance to get into the Big 12 championship, as their last 2 games, I believe against West Virginia and Baylor, are very favorable and more than likely will result in wins. So Oklahoma in at number 14, slowly but surely climbing their way back up in these rankings after falling out not too long ago. Georgia in at number 15. Why are they so low? Many will ask that. Why is Georgia so low? Did you not see JT Daniels and how well he played against Mississippi State? I did. It's about time, too. It's about time the Bulldogs settle on the quarterback. But did you also see why JT Daniels had to play so well? He had to play so well because Georgia could not run the football. I think they had 8 rushing yards by the end of the game. Could not run the football. And they were in a battle against a Mississippi State team that had 2 wins and was down to just 49 scholarship players. 2-win Mississippi State team comes to Athens, beat up with tons of COVID issues, and you're tied at 24 in the 4th quarter. Georgia scored a touchdown with 9:50 remaining in the game to jump to that 31-24 lead and hold on to the victory thanks to the arm and talent of JT Daniels. That, to me, is not a top 12 caliber team. They're not a top 10 caliber team. Georgia finally may have found their offense, but they weren't able to put together a complete game. Great passing game, no run game, questionable defense. Too many questions on this Georgia squad right now. You can't help but wonder where the motivation is. They can hope to finish strong, but yeah, I absolutely have Oklahoma ahead of them. Absolutely have Iowa State ahead of them. Those are the only 2 teams that maybe you could argue Georgia should be ahead of, and right now, after their performance against Mississippi State, I don't think they should be. Coastal Carolina in at 16th. Some think they should be higher, but because of the performances of Oklahoma and Iowa State and Indiana, who was well ahead of Coastal Carolina, but still, because of that, they're going to jump Coastal Carolina, who's just beating up on all these Sun Belt Conference opponents, including Appalachian State. And so the Chanticleers are going to stay around that top 15 mark. Have them in at 16th right now, but they're the first Sun Belt team to start 8-0 in the last 20 years. Marshall in at 17. They didn't play last week. Conference USA favorites right now. Would love to see a Marshall-Coastal Carolina game or a Marshall-Cincinnati, Marshall BYU. These group of 5 teams that are in the top 25 right now, would love to see like our own little playoff with them because they're all playing out of their mind, all playing fantastic football. Thundering Herd, no exception. USC, we have a number 18. We finally saw a good performance from them. They went on the road to Utah and won 33-17. They struggled against Arizona State. We're lucky to survive that. Struggled against Arizona. We're lucky to survive that. There were questions as to whether or not they'd be able to go into Salt Lake City and come out with a win. And we finally saw the team that we thought they could be and thought they would be in 2020. 16-point victory against Utah. They're 3-0. I do believe they're a top 20 team. Big game against Colorado coming up this Saturday. One that could very well determine the Pac-12 South. Texas, 19. They didn't play. Haven't moving up a few spots, though. They've really turned a corner since that loss to Oklahoma, the devastating 4-overtime loss. Like we mentioned, big game against Iowa State. They're going to be playing their first game in 20 days when they take on the Cyclones in Austin. Sam Ehlinger's last game in Austin. Wisconsin in at number 20. Final team in the second column here. Wisconsin, we have dropping 10 spots. Some think they should be 18. Some think they should be 19. Got them at 20. I was, like Florida, I was embarrassed by Wisconsin's performance. Was embarrassed by it. Graham Mertz, we praised him so much for the wins against Illinois and Michigan. They looked so bad against Northwestern. He looked so bad against Northwestern. 3 interceptions. Wisconsin as a team had 5 total turnovers. Couldn't move the ball. Couldn't really stop Northwestern, even though they only scored 17 points. And they're no longer the favorites in the West. So, yes, we have them dropping a lot because that was just a horrendous performance and effort on Saturday afternoon. Final column over here, Auburn jumping up to 21st. They just beat Tennessee 30-17 thanks to a 100-yard pick six. they have Alabama in the Iron Bowl on Saturday. We'll have plenty of analysis on that game coming your way very soon. Probably not going to beat Alabama, but Gus Malzahn's squad still in that top 25 caliber range. Definitely, I think, in the higher end now just because of the results from other teams. Depending on how everybody else had fared, I probably would have had them a little lower, but because of how poorly some teams played ahead of them, I had them moving up a few spots. So Auburn, 21. Oklahoma State, 22 after that embarrassing performance against Oklahoma. They deserve to be there. They deserve to drop 8 spots. They were 14th when they fell to the Sooners. They just haven't been the same since they lost to Texas. They lost to Texas, heartbreaking fashion, struggled against Kansas State, came back to win that game 20-18, and then right from the start when you faced off against Oklahoma, right from the very first drive for the Cowboys, you knew this was going to be ugly. And it was, as they lost by 28. So Oklahoma State in at 22nd might consider themselves lucky to even still be in the top 25. Tulsa in at number 23. They're 5-1. Remarkable comeback victory against Tulane with a third-string quarterback. Had that Hail Mary as time expired to send the game to overtime, and then had the 96-yard pick six in the second overtime to win the game against the Green Wave. So an unbelievable win for them, a season-saving win for them. The Golden Hurricane absolutely deserve to be ranked, and they are probably Cincinnati's toughest test for the remainder of the year. They will face off in the season finale and maybe again in the American Athletic Championship game. But Tulsa, they're the real deal, and they're even better when they're healthy. What that showed me is while that game was close, while it was a nail-biter, Tulsa is able to overcome adversity, and no matter how much they're down, because they were down against SMU, they were down against Tulane, they were down against UCF, they can come back and they will not fight. There's no quit in this Tulsa team. Reminds me a lot of the grit and the intensity and the passion that we see out of Indiana as well. Louisiana in at 24. They've already won the Sun Belt West. More than likely will play Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. Remember, Louisiana lost to Coastal Carolina earlier in the year. So they're in at 24. They did not play last week. And North Carolina cracking the top 25. They also did not play last week. Big game against Notre Dame on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. A bigger game for Notre Dame than it is for the Tar Heels. And we'll, of course, touch more on that later in the week. But North Carolina is one of those teams that's just been in and out of the top 25 lately. But I like their entire body of work for the most part. Defense still needs some work, but that offense is electric, is unreal. North Carolina, to me, very similar to Florida in terms of their style and what they're good at and also what they're bad at. So North Carolina, Mac Brown cracking the top 25, and that will round out our first set of our GE top 25 rankings going into week 13. So yeah, there's a lot of changes here, guys. It's different from the AP poll. We're banking on it being different than the College Football Playoff Committee's poll tomorrow on Tuesday night. When they release their first set, I would expect the top 8 to remain the same that we have it up here. After that, it's a free-for-all. Where is each team going to land? Who will be ranked where? So many questions coming your way, and we want to hear from you. What are your questions for tomorrow's set of rankings? What are your questions on our rankings? What do you agree or disagree on? You've heard us talk about what we agree or disagree on for 12 weeks now. Now it is time for you to tell me what you agree or disagree with. So we're really looking forward to hearing that, and we'll, of course, be breaking down the committee set of rankings tomorrow night as well, so you won't want to miss that analysis. So there you have it, you guys. First set of our GE Top 25 rankings. We'll have one every single week until season's end. Every single one, I can promise, you will not want to miss. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at The Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And also make sure to check out everything down in that description below. If you love college football, this is the place for you. Everything down there is for you. Our weekly newsletter, our expert picks, our Patreon account, the BetNow promo code, whatever it is, it's college football related, and it's going to help you and your love for college football in some way. So make sure to go check it out right down there, down in the description. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.